Hello, everyone. It is Friday, March 15th. This is Kops Office Hours. I am your moderator, Justin Santa Barbara. I work at Google. This meeting is being recorded and will be put on the internet. So please respect our code of conduct and remember, don't say anything you wouldn't want put on in public. We have an agenda with a couple of items on it. Please do add items that you would like to talk to that agenda. Feel free to put your name on the list of attendees so we know who you are. And otherwise, I think we can just jump right in. The two items we have on the agenda so far are about how we do our docs and about the burn down. And I thought we could do, I could show people how we do the triage and hope to socialize some of the hard decisions, as in the responsibility for them, not just not just actually doing them. And then, but giving visibility into that. So the first up, Peter, do you want to talk about docs?
The issue is pretty straightforward. We've seen people asking questions about using using features that they see in the docs for features that haven't been released yet in a stable kops release. That's just a confusing experience. So just wondering if we have plans to release docs in a versioned way along with our binaries.
Yes. We have so the way our docs work right now is mostly it's like we tend to point people to GitHub itself. There are some generated files that are generated based on our API. That generation is basically unmaintained, or the tools to generate it are basically unmaintained. And someone created a good tool to, AlaDBF, I think, submitted something which is how Nginx Ingress or Ingress Nginx is doing their docs, which is, I think, is more similar to Kind, and I agree we should do something better. There are two aspects, I guess. I guess there are three aspects. There's generating the markdown itself, and producing HTML. There's uploading that HTML somewhere, which could be GitHub pages, or could be, I think Kind is using some service whose name I forget, but another service. We should probably do that because that's what everyone else is doing. And the third element is figuring out what to do about our generated API docs. I think we get a long way just by doing the first two, or starting with the first two. But yes, it would be great. I thought I saw a tool somewhere to do it without. So the issue right now is in order to generate the docs, we have to generate an open API spec, and then it's just complicated. I thought I saw a PR somewhere to bypass that complexity, and I will try to dig that up. But yeah, if anyone wants to look into how Kind is doing it or something like that, that would be wonderful. But it is a problem, and we should address it. Yeah, thank you for bringing that up. I don't know if anyone else has any ideas on good ways to do things. I'm trying to remember the name of this service that does. Mike, are you about to save me? Okay.
No, I don't remember what it's called, but I know Kubernetes uses it, and that's how they have each version of previous versions of the Kubernetes APIs documented as well. But I think this is like, I agree. When Peter brought this up, I was like, oh yeah, we gotta, this is kind of like a thing that's just always, it's kind of been there a while. And yeah, I think it'd be good for us to dive into taking a look at, I hadn't remembered what Manuel, I think his name is, had contributed. But now that you posted that, Justin, I remembered it. So yeah, I think we should push on that. And I mean, I'd be happy, and maybe Peter, maybe you and I work towards getting this a little bit better. I don't know. There's a lot of other people on the call that are a little more deep divers, Justin, on everything. So this could be an area that I think we can make a big difference for users of kops at least.
Okay, to start out, how about unless anyone knows an existing issue in the project, I might open an issue with these video items so we can enumerate them and so it doesn't get lost in the weeds.
That'd be great. Thank you, Peter.
Perfect.
And definitely we can tag that as help wanted. This is one that like people may contribute to, but that would be great. And I will try to get to it, but I am focusing on 112 or trying to focus on 112 right now as the priority. I think that should be everyone's priority. Or yes, thumbs up. Okay, good. If there's nothing else on that, I was going to do a burn down. So we're burning down for 112. There's about 40-ish PRs that are open that are candidates for 112. Not all of those has to go in before 112 alpha 1, but some of them should. And some of them will get punted. And I thought we could do a like triage of that together. If there's not, but I also wanted to check that that sounds valuable to people, and also if there's anything else we wanted to talk about first. Okay, I'm seeing some thumbs up, which I presume is for value. I will, excuse me, I will share my screen. I will try to share my screen. Share. Share. Okay. Is this working? Can you see a kops GitHub window with
We can.
46 open issues? Okay. So this is basically how I do the triage of issues. Sorry, of PRs. Issues are separate. So I do a filter. Is PRs open is pretty much normal. And then I disregard ones that are totally not ready or not ready. Like there's nothing we can do about them. So like if they don't have a CNCF label, a CNCF CLA approval, then we ping that issue, but it can't go into it's not something we can really consider to merge. I'm sorting by updated ascending, so I'm going from the oldest to the newest. And I also exclude, I started creating this label called waiting for input, which means that sort of the ball is in someone else's court. Like the PR isn't ready to merge, and we need the PR submitter to do something. And that can include me. I think I have assigned myself waiting for input on occasion. So it's a good one to exclude from like the priority list, and then just go back to it like periodically to see like whether it's been updated since anyone changed it. And then we have milestones, and I think, let me see, we should have nothing in, in a milestone other than 112 or 113, so nothing, no milestone. All right, that's a lie. Okay, hopefully these are pretty new, or CNCF. Okay, but anyway, I try to check that like things are in the right milestones. So backlog milestone is typically things that are waiting for input or things that are just like when we get to them, not really milestone associated. Docs often go into backlog if they're not ready. 113 is things that we're not ready to do in 112 or are not important, like that type of fix. But I think like Mike, your switch to go 1.11.1, we can't actually do until Kubernetes goes to 1.11.1. So for example, that goes there. And then things that are like longer term, like introducing the bundles or HTTPS, which is a sort of mirroring type issue. That's when I try to, or we can address using mirroring. I punt those to future versions. And then basically everything that's left is in the 112 milestone until we can sort of deal with it. That's interesting. Oh, yes. So I actually excluded everything that was not in the 113. So I actually have backlog in this list, but that's okay. And then I typically go through and like look at these and try to understand, like, do they have to go into the 112 release? And in particular, do they have to go into 112 alpha 1, or can they be added later? So like docs, for example, because of our unversioned docs are not tied in, thank you, as Peter pointed out, are not tied into a release. So that might change if we become more disciplined about docs, but right now they don't really matter in terms of release blocking type things. And then, so let's look at one of these. So for example, let's look at one of the ones I've actually gotten to so far. So for example, this one, move NTP and miscellaneous package installations code, is one of mine. That is just a cleanup. That one actually is not a blocker in any way. So I might just move that one immediately to the next milestone. And then we should be down to 45 open. Yay, 45. Okay, one closer. And so like, let's look at a less trivial one. So like this one, I think we're waiting on Mike, I think, but that's not I don't think that's a blocker either. Let's get to some trickier ones, which is really where we want to be. So flag mappings are generally safe, and we try to do those as soon as possible, but this one looks like it needs a rebase. The ones which are blocked next are more interesting, I think. These are the ones that I think are the things we have to get in. So Calico switching to CRDs and etcd manager, that's sort of completing the big thing for our roadmap for getting to etcd3. We have to do that by 113, and so that's why I've marked them as blocks next for 112. They are sort of the critical features that we have to get in. And then we have 2 fixes that are basically like cleanup fixes for other PRs that got in. So like we revamped how Docker package names and versions worked. And I think some of the tests found that some of the names were like typoed or something like that. So like things like that where it was important to get the feature in, but we needed something else as well. Same thing with here. This is the AWS VPC CNI plugin. We want to just apply it to everything and do a bundle bump, as I recall. So just that sort of thing. And then the final one is another one, similar sort of cleanup one, where we have an API change that went in between 111.1 and 112.0. Or hasn't yet been released, and maybe we want to like tidy up the API a little bit because some of the data types. And so that one, we basically have to merge it now or not at all, because once it's released, it's done. And it looks like that is probably blocked on me fixing it up to pass tests. Let's look at some other ones. I don't know if anyone has any questions at this point or wants to lobby for anything in particular. So this is what I am doing, and I'm trying to get everything into 112 alpha 1 that doesn't disrupt the release. So let's try to find something else that could potentially disrupt the release. So for example, this one of mine, which moves some configuration files around. It's not critical. It's helpful for 112. It's helpful for GCE. It's not a blocker for 112, and I could probably punt that one. Similarly, this building run C patch, I think that was an alternate workaround for the CVE, and I think we can punt that one as well, because we are going to do. Oh yeah, I remember I didn't punt it. We're going to do. We're just going to use this change attribute thing instead. But I'm going to leave that one in there actually for now. The reason why I left it in there, I remember now, is because I wanted to check that everyone has the change attribute. All the Docker versions have the change attribute flag on them, or change attribute marker on them. Let's find another one that is interesting or challenging. Okay, actually, there's a good one. There we go. So here we get some of the really hard calls. This one has been open for way too long, and it changes the way that, or changes the DNS record that gets deleted. So it's pretty high risk, but it is a bug fix, and at some point we need to get it in. And then that's where I sort of start to wonder whether we should put it in now or put it in later. The challenge is when we put it in later, it tends to just get punted and punted and punted, and that's why it's been open for, it's not a year old yet, but it will, you can imagine it getting to be a year old. So like looking at this one, for example. So the issue is probably around here. All right, it's more complicated than I thought. There, this is going to be it. So it's around the whether we assume the name is API or whether we assume the name is whatever you specify in your master public name, and like whether people are using that with a name they want to keep or not. It's only deleting the records in any case, and we're already obliterating the records. So this is probably safe. I will check that it's only obliterating the records, but that's the sort of thing where that's the sort of challenge which we have to do. And then I don't know how people feel about this, but I try to look at all the PRs before we do a new release. Sometimes the PRs will stay open for a long time. I think we have one that's a year old, and I do feel bad about that. But that's sort of why I try to make sure we look at all of them, and that's why it's not a trivial exercise to do this, to do a new release. But we could also we could adopt a different approach where we say if your PR didn't make it, it didn't make it, and we just sort of release when it's done, which is more what Kubernetes does, right? If your feature doesn't make it into 1.12, then it doesn't make it, and the release carries on regardless. Is that a thumbs up for we should do that?
I think so, yeah.
It's a tough trade-off, right? Because then we sort of, the counterpart of that is we need to be better at reviewing PRs and be faster at doing that. That's sort of like part of the contract. Although the Kubernetes repo is not fast either, so.
You know, unfortunately, sometimes we get stuck trying to merge things in that maybe shouldn't really be in, and therefore we delay some of the releases because of that. So,
yeah, that's fair. So we could like decide whether it's a feature or a bug,
yeah.
And we could try to look at all the bugs, but the features we could be look at all the bugs before each release, but we could be less. We would hold up the train less for a future PR.
Yeah. Well, this seems like a bug, but it seems so dangerous that, yeah. Where does that fall?
The way I think about this one is that the consequence of the bug is pretty low. Like we leak a DNS record where you're specifying it manually, which is not. In other words, if you're overriding the public name, we will. Well, actually, I guess there's two pieces. So we'll leak the master public name, which is not particularly high consequence. I don't even know if there's a charge for records. If there is, it's very, very low, and and there's a limit, but it seems unlikely that this is going to push you up to the limit. I guess the real gotcha would be if your API name was something you did care about, and we went and deleted it. I don't know whether that's actually what happened here, whether it was a should clean up or whether it's please don't delete my API record. I think that would be a good thing to seek clarification from Naresh. I don't know if Naresh, if you're here, but we can ask Naresh and see what he or she says. Anyway, that's. I think the idea of not holding up for features is a good one, and I think that could really help get the train on schedule, keep the train on schedule.
I think especially for a release or two, we could also try to, once we get up, caught up a little bit, then maybe we slow things back down for one release just to, get a bulk of stuff in. But I think we have enough demand right now for 1.12.
Okay.
I think it's fine to bypass a few things, personally.
Okay.
I figured as long as we get all the etcd stuff done, 1.12 or 13, that should really be the priority feature, and everything else can wait until after when we catch up.
I think that makes sense.
It's worth differentiating features between whether it's 100% required for that Kubernetes release, like the etcd manager, for example, versus other features which aren't required.
That is a very good point. Very good point. All right. Well, I think I have got a lot of value out of this then, in terms of like getting this procedure more streamlined. And I think I don't know if we have any labels we can use already. Bug. We have kind bug and we have kind feature. So I guess we'll start tagging them, the PRs, with kind bug and kind feature, and we will not block on kind features for 112 and probably for 113. But I will also try to be diligent in reviewing them too, so that it's not too obnoxious.
And just so everyone knows, I think org members can tag as kind bug and kind feature. They can't tag like blocks next and some of those. So just so you guys know, if you look at the bot commands, I think you can do /kind and then bug, I think. But just if you know, if anyone's reviewing PRs, I think you can do that. I'll look it up to make sure.
Oh, that'd be cool. Yes. If not, even if you type kind bug or kind feature, it's still useful because I can then, even if I have to apply the label manually, it's not the end of the world. All right, well, that's really good. I think that's that will help get 112 out faster then. And I hope that gives some clarity on like when I think things should block next and why, and sort of what I'm doing here. And yes, if people want to help, that is wonderful. But yeah, thank you to everyone that has been doing a sterling job of like PR review and triage and all of that. Oh, and Mike, you just put the list of the proud commands in chat. So that is wonderful.
Yeah, so if you just search for kind on there, you just, anyone, it looks like anyone can do it on a PR. You can label /kind space bug, or you can tag for a SIG or whatever.
Hopefully not too many SIGs, but yes.
Well, the OpenStack guys have been doing that like crazy right now, so which is good.
Cool. That's awesome. Good. All right.
Yeah.
All right. I'll write that up in the notes. I don't know if anyone else has anything else they would like to bring up before anyone else they want to bring up, because we've reached the end of our agenda.
Hi.
Hi.
Yes. So my name is Mi Nai, and I wanted to ask a couple of questions. I have a PR for GCP private network topology improvements, except I'm really not familiar with the development process, and there doesn't seem to be much of documentation around it. Let me find a link to the PR and share it with you. For example,
I have it here. You just opened it a few hours ago?
Yes, I did.
All right, there it is.
Now, yeah, I'd be happy if anyone can take a look at it and tell me what I'm missing, and then I'll clean it up. It's quite, what do you call it? It's mostly POC right now. And of course, I don't expect it to get into 112 or 113, so you could relax on that. Yeah, so I'll be, how do you call it? Looking forward to your comments on that. Yeah.
Yeah, this is wonderful. I will definitely have a look at this. I'm employed by Google, so I am, it makes my life easier if we have more GCE features, so I will definitely get this in there.
Great.
But yeah, I will definitely take a look, and it looks good. I'm just scanning through it. It looks good. But yeah, I hope it's okay if it doesn't make 112.
It's fine. There's no pressure for it right now. The time I needed it's past. So I'm just trying to get it in there so that somebody would not have to go through my hassle.
Wonderful. Well, I'm sorry about the hassle, and thank you for the contribution.
Great.
I don't know if anyone else has any other topics. Going once, going twice. All right, well, I wish everyone a happy weekend. Happy Friday and happy weekend. And we will see you all in 2 weeks, and hopefully we will have 112 long before then. But yes, thank you everyone for the bugs versus features, I guess, decision on triaging. I think that will make life a lot easier.
Yeah, thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Bye.
Good one, guys.
You too.